So after you have a spiritual awakening, you left your job because it doesn't align with your soul. In the beginning, this may feel very wonderful, like you get all the freedom to do what you love, you enjoy life more, but soon after a period of time, you realize that you still have bills to pay, you may still have children or your family members to feed or support, and the saving in your bank account is shrinking. And what you love to do doesn't pay you anything, or it doesn't pay you enough to cover your monthly expenses. This is where you start to get panic and worry about the future. You may be tempted to go back to your old job, or you may get another job which may be worse than before, and now you're stuck. You either stay in a job that you hate, or you leave your job and struggle with money. This is not a good place to be. So what do? Even though after a spiritual awakening, we may place less importance on making money, it's still important to make enough money to cover our expenses. Because financial insecurity will trigger our ego. It will cause our ego to go into this panic or anxiety mode. We may choose not to play the money game, but like it or not, we are still in the money game. The money game still follow us wherever we go. However, the problem isn't with the money game. The problem is we are conditioned to believe that the only way to be financially stable is to get a full-time job. We are taught to study hard, specialize in an area of studies, and get a stable or high-paying job. But this is just one way to play the money game, and it may not be the best way. I've heard some of my ex-colleagues were retrenched last year. So stable? Like, I did saw it coming when I was working in a company like more than a decade ago. When I saw like colleagues from other departments are getting retrenched. So what we are conditioned to believe as stable may not be actually stable. There are many ways to play the money game, but most of us are not taught the other way. We're not taught how to be an entrepreneur and add value to other people's life. We're not taught sales and marketing. When we are an employee, we depend a lot on the company's sales and marketing to make a profit. We are not taught how to invest properly. We are not taught to make passive income. We are not taught how to manage our finances. There are many other ways to play the money game that we may not be aware of. And what I listed just now is just logical ways of playing the money game. And I'm not even talking about those illogical way where the universe bring you money in ways that your mind cannot even fathom. So now when we are spiritually awakened and we want to quit our jobs that doesn't resonate with us, we have this money issue that we need to deal with because we haven't accumulated enough knowledge to earn an income with our job. Instead, what happened is we put a lot of stress and pressure on the things that we love to do, wanting it to provide income for us. For example, you may want to help other people and be a coach, and you find yourself not getting any client, or you want to write books and blog posts, or create YouTube videos like this to share your insights and knowledge about spiritual awakening, but the income isn't coming fast enough. And then you get impatient, get depressed about the very thing that you love to do, and then you give up. When we are facing stress, we go back to the thing that is familiar to us, which is we go back to our traditional jobs. Even though the universe is always on your side and support your heart desire, you still need to do the necessary work, take the necessary action, and acquire the necessary knowledge for things to get manifested. You need to learn how the money game works, and you need to learn how to build wealth. And it takes time to know what your soul truly wants to do. And if you're trying to earn a living from what you love, it will take some time to build momentum. Things that needs healing may come to the surface. Maybe you don't feel confident enough. Maybe you don't feel good enough. Maybe you have imposter syndrome, or you're afraid to ask and receive money from other people, or you're afraid to show up and express yourself and record a video like this. Especially if you want to do something spiritual Example, if you want to be a psychic, a tarot card reader, or you want to give spiritual coaching, sometimes it's not easy to quantify spirituality with an amount, with money. It will take some time for you to learn how to connect with your target audience. And you also need to deal with judgment from other people. There are a lot of things to learn, and this takes time. I can share with you my experience. First time when I published this book in 2014, it doesn't make me a living. Then I published the second book. It also doesn't make me a living. Then I published the third book, and then the fourth book. It was until the fifth book in 2019 that I started earning enough to meet my monthly expenses. I started writing in 2014, and it took me 5 years to make a living from my writing. You must be willing to do something you love for free for a certain period of time, even if they don't make you any money. And this requires you to trust, because if you don't trust what you do, you don't trust your capability, you don't trust the universe, then at the first instant that you don't see the result you want, you will give up. You need to trust that your soul calling will eventually work out, even if it doesn't seem this way at first. But when you're doing something for free, it's always good to have other sources of income for the time being. For me, I become a maths tutor. I invest in stock that give me dividends. I put my money in fixed deposit. I have many things going on, and I'm not totally dependent on what I love to do to make an income. And it's not that I don't trust that it will be successful eventually. It's I don't want to add more stress to what I love to do. And this allows me to do what I truly love, whether it's making money or not. When you have a spiritual awakening, many of us may need to go through a transitional phase. Even though your soul calls you to do something your heart's desire, it will take some time for the desire to manifest. And during this period, there is no shame in going back to the workforce. Like for me, I have been back to my ex-company 5 to 6 times now for part-time or contract work. Wherever they needed help, I went back to help them. Not only did it help me financially, it helped them too. And each time I went back, it actually reaffirms that working a traditional 9 to 5 job or being in a traditional working environment isn't for me. It actually helped me become more certain of my spiritual calling and my spiritual path. Even if your job has something that you dislike or there are some things that triggers your ego, this is actually great because you can use it as a spiritual practice to strengthen your connection with your spirit. During this transitional period, you are like a spiritual baby learning how to walk. You're still new to spirituality, and you need to build the muscle to have a consistent connection with your spirit. These experiences, even though it may seem triggering or negative, they will help you to be more grounded in the spiritual perspective. So don't rule out working in a traditional environment entirely for the time being. But you want to play the money game in such a way that resonates with your spirit. And to do this, you have to think outside of the box. You have to think outside of what we are conditioned to believe as true. For example, if you find it too difficult or too challenging to work in a 9 to 5 job, see if you can negotiate to work less hours. If you send resumes and no one wants to hire you, or you don't get any reply, call up the company instead. You know how I get a job at my ex-company? I actually call up the HR department and ask them if they want some extra help in the finance department. I had an accounting background and I know that it was the year end and they may be very busy, so they may need some help. And then they hire me part-time to do some filing and data entry, all this like non-stressful work. And then later, the manager sees that I'm proficient and productive, and they converted me to become a full-time staff. You have to know that this phase is transitional. You're not stuck with this job forever. Some of you may have resistance of going back to the workforce, because you feel like you're going to do this forever. But you can actually do a job for a short while until your passion or what you like to do takes off and gains momentum. And when it's time to leave, your soul will give you a little nudge and guide you away from this job. But your mind might be wondering, who will want to hire a staff member who will leave after a while? Well, my ex-company did. I told them during my interview that I will not stay in the company for long because I want to do something more creative and something that I'm more passionate about. And yet, they still hire me. You can be your authentic self and people will respect you. My employer respected that I was honest and the commitment I had with doing something that I love. And if they don't, then that will tell me that they aren't the right employer for me. Then I'll just go somewhere else and get another job. Our ego always have this fixed belief of how things should be. But if you think outside of the box, think outside of the mind, think outside of the ego, you will be amazed by how things works to your favor. You know what is more important than all this knowledge on how to build wealth or play the money game? It's your emotion, your vibration, and your energy. Your energy is more important than all this knowledge and all this how to do something. You want to be in a place of peace before you find your part-time or freelance work. Because when you are in a financial crisis, you're constantly worried about making ends meet and you are desperate. You will take any job that is available to you. And when you are desperate, you will end up with a job that doesn't resonate with your soul. And you are likely to end up with a job which is much worse than your original job. Instead, you want to relax, tune into your intuition, and check whether a job resonates with you or not first. And this applies to everything else. There are many ways to make money, for example, investment and passive income, but you always want to check if they resonate with your soul. You want to drop those methods that don't resonate with your soul and learn more about those that resonate with you. And what resonates with one person may be different from another person. Like sales and marketing, there are heart-based, authentic way of doing it, but there are also the kind of like salesy, inauthentic way of doing it. The problem is never with the function. It's about choosing the method that resonates with your soul and dropping those that don't. When you do so, you'll create your own money game instead of playing the money game that we are conditioned to play. The amount of money you have doesn't have to determine how you feel. Even though after spiritual awakening, I wasn't earning as much as before, I still feel abundant. Watch this next video to learn how spiritual awakening transformed my perspective on my financial life.